Alright guys, this is the start of section 7.2, and in this section we're going to learn everything you need to know about parallelograms. So there's four main properties of parallelograms that's going to drive us to do all these things that we do this section. And really these will carry over for the entire chapter. This is kind of a big deal. So before we get into those properties, let's first define what a parallelogram is. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral, so meaning it has four sides, in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So if I were to draw a picture, pardon my art skills because they lack, I know, this and this would be parallel, and then this side and this side would be parallel, okay? They have all various forms, but both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Okay, that's the main thing. All right, so here's the first two theorems. Now there's four total properties. Each of them come in a theorem form, so first two out of four theorems. And this one is the parallelogram opposite sides theorem. And all it tells us is that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite sides are congruent. Okay, so every single parallelogram, opposite sides will be congruent. They're not only parallel, but they're congruent as well. Okay, and then the next theorem is the parallelogram opposite angles theorem. And so this theorem tells us if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then opposite angles are congruent. So not only are opposite sides congruent, but opposite angles are congruent. All right, so let's look at example one. Now to do example one, we have to know both of those theorems. Okay, so let's first look at x. Let's solve for x first. Okay, x is right here, and it's the measure of angle J. Okay, well, we just learned that opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. So if they're congruent, that means they're equal in measure. So I can say 2x equals 50. You solve. You get 25 equals x. Okay, so that would be how we'd solve for x. Now, to solve for y, well, y is here, and it's referring to the length of LM. Okay, well, we know that this is a parallelogram because we're showing that both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, which means that opposite sides are congruent as well. So I know the y plus 3 is congruent to 18, so I can set them equal. So I can say 15 equals y, and we have solved for both x and y. All right, so here's the other two theorems, or the other two properties. This one is the consecutive angles theorem. Now consecutive angles, guys, consecutive means angles that are next to each other. Okay, so they're not opposite of each other, but they're right next to each other. They're neighbors. All right, so this theorem tells us that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its consecutive angles are supplementary. Okay, so they would add up to 90. So notice opposite angles are congruent. So I have x, x, y, and y. But then consecutive angles are supplementary, so I could say any x plus y equals 180, okay? And that could be Q and P. It could be Q and R. It could be R and S, S and P. Any two angles that are side by side in a parallelogram, they will add up to 180. Okay, this is the fourth one, and this is the one that's forgotten about the most. It's the parallelogram diagonals theorem. Okay, so it says if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so that means that QS bisects PR, and therefore PM is congruent to MR. And it also means that PR bisects QS, which means that QM is congruent to MS. So they bisect each other. All right, let's look at example 2 together. So it says, as shown, part of an extending arm of a desk lamp is a parallelogram. Now this is kind of small, especially on your sheet. So I'm just going to draw it without all the added stuff, and I'm going to draw it a little bigger. Okay, so here's my A, here's my D, here's my B, here's my C. Okay, all I did is I took this here and I pulled it out to bigger and without all the added unnecessary stuff. All right, it says the angles of the parallelogram change as the lamp is raised and lowered. Find the measure of BCD, so I want to find the measure of this angle when ADC is 110 degrees. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, what's the relationship between these two angles here and here? Okay, well, they're consecutive angles because they're side by side, and because this is a parallelogram, we know they are supplementary. I'm going to call this X. And if they're supplementary, then they add up to 180. Okay, so subtract 110 from both sides. I get X is 70. So this would have to be 70 degrees. All right, guys, let's look at example 3, and we are officially back to proofs here. So we are given that ABCD and GDEF are parallelograms. So I'm going to break these up into two different things. ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay, that's given. So if ABCD is a parallelogram, here's ABCD. And if I look, I eventually want to know B and F are congruent. Okay, so if this is a parallelogram, what do I know about angle B? Okay, well, I know that angle B has to be congruent to angle CDA by the parallelogram opposite angles theorem. Now I know I just abbreviated that big time. It stands for parallelogram opposite angles theorem. It tells us opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. All right, now I'm also given that GDEF, so I can say GDEF is a parallelogram. Okay, that's also given. And I also can use the parallelogram opposite angles theorem to say that angle F and angle D are congruent. But I can't call it angle D, so angle F is congruent to angle EDG by the parallelogram opposite angles theorem. Okay, well, looking at this theorem, guys, can't I say that this angle and this angle are congruent because they're vertical angles? So I can say angle CDA congruent to angle EDG by the vertical angle theorem. Okay, well, now let's look. If I put this and this together, so if angle B is equal to angle CDA, and angle CDA is also to angle EDG, I can say that angle B is congruent to angle EDG by the transitive property of congruence. But notice that angle F is congruent to EDG, so I can now substitute angle F in for EDG, and I can get angle B is congruent to angle F by substitution. And that would be our proof. All right, guys. So let's look at example 4. Now there's an easy way to do this. So it says find the coordinates of the intersection of the diagonals of this little symbol here is the symbol your book uses for parallelogram. I've never seen that symbol anywhere else, not to say that it's not, but your book uses this for parallelogram. So in your homework, if you see this, know it's parallelogram. LMNO with vertices, and then it gives you coordinates of each of these. Okay, so I'm going to just draw this, and it won't be accurate at all. So I'm just going to draw what looks like a parallelogram. This is L, this is M, this is N, and this is O. Now when I name these, make sure you go around, and you're not like going L and then across to M and then over to N and then across to O. They just have to be in order one way or another. And like I said, I know this totally isn't accurate, but I'm going to put L is at 1, 4, M is at 7, 4, N is at 6, 0, and O is at 0, 0. All right, so let's think of this. We know that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So if I were to draw this, that means this piece and this piece are the same, and this piece and this piece are the same. So wouldn't that mean that where they intersect, this is the midpoint of both LN and MO? Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to process that. So if that's the midpoint, couldn't I just use the midpoint formula, which is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2, for these coordinates of the diagonals and find the midpoint? Well, sure. So I'm just going to do L and N. So 1 plus 6 over 2, 4 plus 0 over 2, that's 7 halves, 4, 2, which is just 3.5, comma 2. That would be the coordinates of the intersection of the diagonals. All right, let's look at example 5, and this is going to be our last example for this section, or this, this section. So it says 3 vertices of triangle WXYZ are, and it gives you the coordinates. Okay, so W's here, X, we're missing Y, and then there's the E. It says find the coordinates of the vertex Y. Now, I have gone ahead and plotted X, W, and Z, and you should too. And when you do that, you should notice that Y is somewhere in this area over here. Okay, you should be able to look at that and just see, well, this is a parallelogram, kind of visualize, it's somewhere over here. Okay, well, so what I'm going to do, and I'm literally just going to use the graph and count boxes. I'm going to say, okay, well, from W to Z, I'm going down 1, and I'm going right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going down 1, right 5 from W to Z. So going from X to Y, where do you think I'm going to move? I'm going to move down 1 and right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my Y. And if I connect the dots, guys, you should be able to see if you did anything too wrong. Okay, which looks good. So I would be at 2, 1. That's my Y.